Well, hi there. It's Monday and time for Monday Mastery. I'm author and dating coach Rick Sodabeer, and I'm here to talk about dating and relationships, answer your questions, and just figure out what's going on in the world of dating today. So anyway, I hope you all had an awesome Thanksgiving and a great Black Friday and finishing up the Thanksgiving holiday with what is it? What is today? It's online Monday or something like that. So anyway, I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving where we're able to be with the people you wanted to be with, and if not, I still hope you had a great day and had a great meal and were able to and enjoy the day and just be able to relax and enjoy and give thanks for all that we have, especially in this country. Whether even those of us in the worst of shape, financially or emotionally or physically, we're generally still a lot better off than most everybody else in the world. So anyway, I hope you could give thanks for a couple of things on Thursday and actually every day. So anyway, over the weekend I was kind of thinking about getting comfortable with being single, and I've been comfortable being single for a couple of years now, probably 3 or 4 years. I'm comfortable with my own company, and I've found myself, because of the fact that I travel a lot. And I'm a full-time RVer. I found that just puts kind of a crimp in a dating life, and I've started to find myself becoming a little bit complacent and not trying very hard to find somebody that is compatible with the things that I like to do. So, and I've also found that after my last serious relationship that I've had to take some time away, but I've also found that I've just found that it can be very, very easy to become complacent, to become, hey Sharon, thanks for joining in. It can be very, very easy to settle into the single life and think, yeah, it's too much work. I don't want to, I just don't want to put in the effort right now. And pretty soon, after a while, it gets to a point where you just stop trying, and you have to decide. There comes a point in time when you have to decide. Well, do you want to be in a relationship? And if you do, you have to start putting some effort back into it. I have to start putting some effort back into it. And over the last couple of months, I've been a little bit and this is my story. This is my excuses that I'm sharing with you. I've been a little bit transient in that I haven't been set in any one location for much more than 3 or 4 weeks at a time, and in a couple of those in a couple of those places, I was relatively busy and didn't have a lot of free time. And Sharon says, I would rather stay single, and I understand that. And and the question I have for you, Sharon, is it that you want to stay single because you become comfortable with being single, or is it because that you've had bad experiences in the past and you don't want to try again? Is it because you just don't want to put in any additional effort? You're over and above what you've already done, and that can be. There can be several different factors that make you want to stay single. And I know personally I would love to be in a relationship. And I would love to have somebody to share my daily routine with, to share my life with, to come and go with, to do adventures with. But I also realize that the journey that I'm on right now is a little bit tough, unless somebody has that wanderlust, that wanderlust desire to pack things up and let's load up and go for a few months. And I admit that it would be nice to have a home base from time to time, but at other times it's free. It's nice to be able to just come and go as I please. So let you guys give me some feedback. Sharon's already said she would rather stay single. What about some of you others? Are you enjoying the single life? And being single, or are you seriously working on finding somebody else? I just shared that I've kind of taken a break and recuperating from a relationship, and but then I've also not put in a lot of effort otherwise. Hey, Phil, thanks for joining in. And Sharon says, I stay to myself, and I do what I want to do and not have to answer a lot of questions. And I understand that, Sharon. And that can be very freeing and very liberating in and of itself. And if that's truly the life you enjoy and truly the life you want to continue, that's awesome. But again, the question I have is, and maybe some of you others can answer this, is being single where you truly want to be? And I know, Sharon, and I feel the same way at times, that I don't have to answer to anyone. There's nobody questioning me where I'm doing, what my schedule is. I can eat when I want to. I can work when I want to. I can work late hours if I choose. I can take a break in the middle of the day and go do something. And not everybody has the luxury of doing that. So and I can name dozens of benefits of being single, but I also can name dozens of benefits that of being in a relationship. And statistics or studies show that couples typically live longer, or people typically live longer when they're in a relationship, when they're married. So, there are some health factors that I mean, if we really get down into the nitty-gritties, that it can have a major impact on your longevity. And we can all be reasonably happy. And happiness comes from inside. It's what we choose to make. What we have to choose to be happy, and we have to choose what makes us upset. I was telling friends tonight that I had dinner with that I was at Walmart today, and some people would have gone absolutely crazy trying to get through Walmart today. I had a questionable price on an item that I bought, and they had to do a price check. And in the meantime, while they're doing a price check, the register timed out, and the gal at the self-service or the self-checkout was keying in some things to reactivate the register, and she accidentally deleted my entire order. I had everything checked in, and when I got to the total, there was one item that was wrong. So while we're waiting for the price check, she was just very gracious about it and very apologetic. She started to rekey in all my items, and we ended up I had ended up having to go back to the department where I found this item, and come to find out I was wrong, and it was an item that was misplaced on the shelf. It was actually a different price, but I could have gotten all cranked out of shape, and my ex-wife would have gone just ballistic over that stuff, and me, I was just kind of okay. it is what it is. We'll be fine. And I bought the item anyway. It wasn't that big a deal. But my point is, our happiness comes from within. We let things that we choose to bother us. We choose those things that bother us most. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining in. Paul says, relationships are hard work. Our culture now makes it harder. Individualism is highly favored. And that is a great observation, Paul. I think that's spot on. And it can be overwhelming. It can be a daunting task to break out of your singleness mode. And and again, everybody has to decide for themselves. I'm not going to tell you what's right or wrong. I know what I'm looking for, and hopefully you figured out what you're looking for. And for Sharon says, I'm happy being by myself. I'll meet someone for lunch or dinner, and then go our separate ways. And that's awesome if that's what you truly choose. And there are seasons in our life that's what it should be, and the way it should be. I question, and again, Sharon, I'll challenge you to think about it. You don't have to give me an answer. Is that what you're truly looking for, or are deep down inside? And this also goes for everybody else. Do you deep down inside want that relationship? One of the comments I had earlier today, or early this morning, or late last night, I don't know, I can't remember. It doesn't make any difference. One of the comments I had on my original post for today's topic was that the woman is happy being alone, but she really does desire having that relationship, having that someone to be with. And personally, I find that and this is for me, and you all can have to make the decision for yourself. But I find that when you're working with someone, when you're in a relationship with someone, it doesn't mean that it's all going to be rainbows, unicorns, and butterflies. It does take work, as Paul said. It can be hard work at times. But when you're with that right person, I know that work can be a much lighter load than it would be if you're in a mediocre or just okay relationship. You learn to develop a strong communication with each other. You learn to understand your partner, what their likes and dislikes are. You learn to understand their humor. You learn to understand their just most of their preferences. I mean, they're always going to surprise you with something, and you're going to say, "Oh, I thought you liked." No, I've never liked that. But those are part of the learning, the learning curves of spending time with someone. And again, for me, I truly would love to be in that long-term relationship. It's just a matter of the right season of life. And unfortunately, and again, this is just me. The right season of life just isn't quite here right now. I'm guessing that the right season will be when I'm done traveling the highways and byways of across the country, and can settle down in one place and find somebody that will enjoy part-time travel and in rather than full-time travel. But you never know. Somebody might pop up that said, "Yeah, I can go full-time. I'm free. I can go do this. Let's create this adventure together." And so we'll all be surprised sometime we'll all be surprised. Let's put it that way. When you find that right person, the chemistry, the connection, your ability to communicate with each other it just becomes awesome. It's It's a connection that really is so deep that it transcends words, and the things that you can accomplish, and whatever you choose to accomplish, it doesn't. You don't have to go out and change the world. You don't have to or save the world. You don't have to do things around the world, or you can have a great impact at home. You can spend time developing an awesome life together. You can spend an awesome you can create an awesome life together, raising children or raising a family, or connecting with building your family, combining two families together. You can you can choose to do things and be supportive of each other. And each of you will have different characteristics or different hobbies or different interests. And when you discover those interests, odds are, it may not be your passion, but if it's your partner's passion, you will take a relatively active interest in it just because it's what excites them. And they will do the same for you. When they find out what excites you, what turns you on, they'll take an active interest in it. It may not become their passion, but they will be supportive, just as you will be supportive of them. And so I'm sorry, I just thought a comment popped up here. And if you guys have comments, tell me what your thoughts are, about being single. Are you actively seeking a new relationship? Are you in a relationship? And how is that relationship going? Are you like Sharon and happily single? And I'm putting words in Sharon's mouth here, but she's happily single and has apparently no interest in finding that relationship, other than maybe new friends, and that's okay. What are your interests? What are your desires? Where do you see your relationship or your romantic life in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years? We're coming to the end of the year, and this is traditionally the time we start evaluating what we've done at the end of throughout this year, what we would like to do in the coming year, and what are things that you would like to do differently in this coming year that maybe you haven't done this year. And Anna says she's single. Wait, Carolina. Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. Anna, I'll get to you. I'll get back to you in a second. Caroline jumped in here, and I'm doing a double take. Caroline says she's single, and what I'm seeing on the or the responses I get on dating sites leave much to be desired. Absolutely, and that brings up an interesting point. That Caroline, that I would like to. Dating sites, a lot of times we have some expectations of dating sites that it's going to be potentially the end all and be all, or be all and end all of dating, and it's not. I think if we were all to look at online dating as simply a tool to meet people, but we still have to be out and be social. If we look at the statistics, somewhere between 30 and 40% of relationships start online. That means 60 to 70% of relationships start elsewhere. And I had a conversation, I think it was in last week's Monday Mastery, or maybe it was in the Dating Made Simple Academy group, that I talked about some of the statistics that 40% of relationships start in the workplace. So that rivals online dating. So I mean, if you're still working, there's a good possibility that you can meet somebody through work. So between those two, you have maybe 60 to 80% of relationships starting there. But there's other places. There's church. There's your must-have list. Where, what are the things that you're looking for in a mate, and where should you be looking? Be creative. I mean, should you be at the golf course, taking golf lessons on a Saturday? Should you be at the shooting range? Should you be taking sailing lessons? Where can you find the type of person that you're looking for? What kind of activities are they doing? Okay, Anna, I'm going to get back to you here real quick. And it says, lost a relationship of 3 years and not sure what to do next. I'm sorry about that, Anna. The first thing to do is to take some time and recover from that loss. I see people break up and then dive right back into dating, and they don't give themselves time to heal or to grieve and to heal from the loss of that relationship. And I don't care if it was just a couple of months. You still need time to grieve that loss, because that's a loss in your life. And 3 years is starting to get to be a pretty significant relationship. And then Anna also says probably waiting to meet someone naturally versus online, and that's fine. And again, I don't want to promote online dating, but it has become such a it can be such a great place to meet people. And let me scroll down here. Sharon says, I have a question for you. What would you do if you met someone and they lead you to believe that they're interested in you, but really they're not? Well, Sharon, that takes a little time to figure out. When you find out they're not truly interested, then it's time to say, okay, I'm out. I obviously see that I have a greater interest in you than you do in me, and it's just not a good fit for me. And I wish you all the best. And it can be that simple. So I hope that helps. If not, shoot me another question. Anna says, I find the site's a little risky. Well, and that's a great observation, Anna. And I want to. It is your responsibility. It's each of our responsibilities to manage that risk. It's our responsibility to do the due diligence, to do the background checks, to learn to recognize red flags. And while this doesn't pertain directly to dating, I had an email today from a company that said here's your PayPal invoice, and it gave the name of the company and amount. And I didn't trust the email because I didn't recognize the company that was sending it to me. So I called PayPal, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's a scam. I'm glad you called. We'll if you'll send us, just forward the copy of the email, we'll shut that website down, or we'll shut their account down." And so, and my point there is you have to learn to recognize warning signs of scammers, of fishers, catfishing, that type of thing. And, and I'll just give you a brief thumbnail sketch. If anybody is reaching out to you from offshore, and when I say offshore, they could be an oil rig worker. They could be in a foreign country, say they're a missionary. They could say that they're in the military. They could, for whatever reason, they're out of the country. That should be a first red flag that said, nope, I'm sorry. I'm done. And just move on, block them, and not worry about it. Uh, if somebody is long distance now, there are a lot of legitimate long distance relationships, or long distance courting or dating that goes on, but you still have to do your due diligence, and it I'd say, and do a background check. Get their first name, their middle initial, or their middle name is even better, and get their last name, get their birth date, and just tell them you're going to do a background check. And if they don't like that, they're going to disappear. That's a great way to get scammers to leave you alone. But if they're serious, they'll say, "Okay, this is my name, my date, my birth date, and this is go online. You can find me, or you can do public record searches." And if you have to spend 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 to check somebody out, if you think they have possibility, then do so. It's for the cost of a meal or the cost of half a meal, you can find out a lot of information to see whether they're legitimate or not. And Anna also says, my last relationship, we met locally at a restaurant. And that's a great way to meet. And that you can still do that when you meet somebody online. You eventually have to meet in person. And dating online has changed so much over the last 10 or 12 years. When I first started dating online, the women that I was talking to, they wanted to talk for at least a month. And now most everybody wants to meet within a week or two. And sometimes it depends on the situation, and again, because I travel, I may not be available for a couple of months, so we may end up talking on the phone. But we eventually do have to meet, and Anna, and she says, he went up to me. Oh, so I'm assuming then, Anna, that you were there with other folks, and that he came up to you in the restaurant and talked to you, and that's not a bad way, And then she says, she answered my question. Yes, she's been, they broke up 6 months ago, and she's been healing. And it was rough. And then Caroline says, I met quite a few on a couple of sites, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. I liked the guy, and it seemed mutual, but then he ghosted me. Huh. And ghosting is such a cowardly way. And this is, and I hate breaking up by text, but even a text would be better than ghosting. I think texting is a cowardly way of saying you're not, telling somebody you're not interested. Either call them on the phone or meet in person and be an adult about it. But to ghost somebody, I think that's so childish. I think that's unless there was a reason that unless Caroline, he thought maybe you're an axe murderer or something like that. That's a good reason to ghost somebody. I'm just kidding. But it's I guess Anna or Caroline, for lack of better terms, you recognized his character, and she says that really hurt. Surprisingly, I like your idea of meeting people who are doing or involved in activities that are interesting. Yeah, of course, it's important to have similar activities, and first dates, I never try to make these two the only word that's coming to my head is too romantic, too over the top, coffee or cocktails. I'm a big proponent of coffee or cocktails, and it's easy if it seems to be a good date. You can extend it. Just make sure you have time available at the end. After your scheduled date. If you go out for cocktails, if it turns out to be an awesome connection, go for dinner. Or if it turns out to be, an awesome connection for coffee, that could still turn into dinner or maybe lunch or a walk in the park. You have options there. But if it turns out to be a nothing date, or you don't see anything in common, you don't feel a connection, 20 minutes tops, you're out of there. Saying, yeah, this has been nice meeting you, but I don't feel a connection. I wish you all the best, and move on. Hey, Sheila, thanks for joining in. Sheila says, after all the crazy stuff I've been through with this dating stuff, I'm slowly embracing the single life. It's really not all that bad. Well, Sheila, and I want to be clear here that embracing the single life is important, and I think it's important for all of us to embrace the single life. To be comfortable with your own company. And to enjoy that. It doesn't mean that you don't get lonely. It doesn't mean that I get lonely just like the rest of you. And do I want to be in a relationship? Absolutely. But I don't want to be in the wrong relationship, just like you all shouldn't want to be in the wrong relationship. So, it's a we all should be that work in progress, figuring out exactly what's right. And when you date somebody, you may find somebody that has some really good qualities, or even just one really good quality. And you say, yeah, I want that in my next relationship. And you just add it to your must-have list. Or you find out they have something that you really don't want. And then you can put that on your deal-breaker list. But if, if you're seriously looking, and we all get burned out from time to time and need to take a break, and especially after breaking up with someone, it does take time to heal. And, and you'll know when you're ready. You'll know when it's time to move on. A lot of times we want to jump right back into dating after we break up because we think, oh man, I'm so glad that I'm away from that relationship and it's time to move on. But what you'll find is that even in many times, even in toxic relationships or not so great relationships, and not so great relationships are a step above toxic. So just for if you're keeping score here. It's still important to take time, because you'll find that you may miss certain things about somebody. There's somebody that I dated, I've known her for 10, 11, 12 years, that I miss dearly. But I know I can't be with her on a full-time basis because we're not a good fit. And it takes time to move past that. It takes time to let that care or that concern or that love for somebody to fade away. And it will eventually fade away, but we have to give ourselves time. And if you try to do this too soon, if you try to get involved with somebody too soon, you're carrying a little too much baggage that that's going to be mulling around or milling around in the back of your head, and it's going to distract from the relationship you're trying to start with somebody new. So it's so important to take an appropriate amount of time. And I'm not saying it's going to take if you're just freshly divorced, figure on at least a month for every year you were divorced, or for every year you were married. So it's important to be able to take that time. Doesn't mean you can't date and go out and do things and have fun, but just don't date seriously. Date casually so that you start to get your feet back under you. Because dating, depending on how long you were married, I was with my ex for 25 years. Dating has changed dramatically. I was doing some study on I guess that's the anthropology of dating. And dating as we know it today is relatively new. It's within the last 150 years that dating as we know it today was actually started. Most of marriages were arranged for financial or political or social, for social connections or financial connections. So it's it really, and with the advent of online dating and texting and emails and all this other stuff, you know, it really is a different nature. Even in the last 20 or 30 years, for some of us, the last time I dated before I was with my ex for 25 years. And so the time, it was 25 years since I had last dated. So, things have changed. Let's see. And Phil says, sorry, I'm rambling on here, and I'm going to wrap things up here pretty quick. Phil says, my late wife, Gail, and I had 25 wonderful years together, and we had a Chip and Dale relationship, always wanting to serve each one. Did we disagree? Yes, but we made it a way to prioritize our love, but we were best friends. And that's awesome. That's the way it should be. And you can have that again, Phil. It's just it will probably take a little time. It'll be different than what you and Gail were, but you can have that again if that's what you're looking for. And Caroline says, I like your meetup group. And I will be there on the 13th, so please feel free to come out. She said, I like your meetup group, but have been hesitant in going out and actually participating. Like volleyball or tennis. It's been so comfortable just being myself, learning and reading. Well, Caroline, and it's not just my meetup group. There are a lot of great meetup groups out there, and depending on where you are, find one that you feel comfortable with. And a good many groups are going to make you feel comfortable. Whether it's whether you're in the Kansas City metro area and it's my group, or there's several other good groups that'll make you feel comfortable. And the whole idea is with meetup groups and getting out and being social is to meet other people to do things with. It's not necessarily to find somebody to date. If that happens, awesome. But the idea is, at least behind my group, is to get out there and get off the couch midweek. I always do, my events are always midweek because I don't want to compete with the drinking groups and have to deal with drunks and that kind of stuff. I like a nice, reasonably low-key event. So, I mean, and Caroline, come out, enjoy, and just meet a couple of new people. And the thing that makes me feel good is when I start to see people connect and go out and do things outside of the group. And they still come and do group activities, but they go out and do other things. They have new friends. And for those of us that are, especially for those that are recently widowed or recently divorced and haven't gone out and made a lot of new friends, you'll notice that most of your friends are married, and it's important to start developing a new circle of friends, of single friends, and that exposes you to people that can introduce you to somebody who can introduce you to somebody who can introduce you to somebody who can introduce you to the right one. But it's all about making connections, and it's kind of like social networking, and that's I find that's one of the best ways to meet people, especially for those of you that are not into or have your doubts about online dating. Well, go out and be social. Get together with a group of people and go out and do things together and just connect with somebody new. Sharon says, um, just don't go on Hangout. That's where the scammers are. Well, yeah, and I don't know Hangout, but one of the best sites I've found, especially for women, is Bumble. Because you have to make the first. A guy can like you, but you have to make the first contact. If you don't like him, well, that's it. He's got you. If I recall correctly, you've got 24 hours. If he likes you, you've got 24 hours to respond. And if you don't like him, well, you just disappear off his screen. Let me try to get caught up on comments here. Anna says, true. Be happy with yourself and wait for the right partner. Absolutely. Um, and yes, let's see. Let me undo this one. Oh, yes, to him walking up to you in the restaurant. He was friendly and asked for my phone, and surprisingly, I gave it to him. Well, there you go. You obviously had some sort of connection there that you were willing to give him your phone number. Now, and the odds are, that he was straight up with you, and the same thing can happen online. You can meet some great people online, and so I don't want to disparage online, and in which a lot of people do. They said that's where all the scammers hang out. It doesn't make any difference what site you're on; they're all there. Well, but again, it goes back to recognizing the signs, and you have to be responsible. And Anna says, I liked him too. There you go. And Caroline says, I like that. Coffee or cocktails? I will be suggesting this. Question. Why don't the guys ask to meet or ask out the old-fashioned way? I'm going to... Let's see. This. Yes. We're afraid of rejection. We... Surprisingly, guys have fragile egos too. We are not. Most guys are not. And this is painting with a really broad brush, and I may be painting too broad, but I think with the advent of social stereotypes, and that women can do anything that a man can do. It's kind of, roles have been reversed. Women or men have been feminized to a great extent, and women have been masculinized to a great extent. And so at least in social media and the way we're portrayed in movies, and we all watch this stuff, and we all say, oh, that's cool, she asked him out, and with all due respect, Caroline, guys have gotten lazy. It just, I can't tell you how many guys I see that don't open a door for a woman, that don't walk on the curb side of the street, that don't seat the lady first, that don't stand when she leaves the table, and don't stand when she comes back to the table. There's so many things that I see guys just don't do. She says, I don't get it. If I've liked you, that means let's meet. Your move, but I would like the guy to make the move and first step. And I do not want to text incessantly. I want to meet within a week or so in first contact. And Caroline, that's very common now, that most women are wanting to meet within the first week or first couple of weeks. And my vision of the way this stuff should go is, number one, you get comfortable texting, then you move to a phone call. or phone conversations, get to know each other a little bit better there, because you can start to pick up positive or negative traits or characteristics just on the phone. What if they have a terrible voice? You know, and I've had this happen where I've met somebody. They meet everything on my list, but it's just a voice I would never want to wake up next to. Never in a million years. Or a laugh that just drives you crazy. And I know that some of you are going to say, "Oh, Rick, that's so shallow." Yeah, well, just try it sometime when after 10 years and it starts grating on your nerves. These are things that you have to think about. But then, yes, within a week or two, I agree, getting out and meeting coffee or cocktails and then seeing where it goes from there. But Caroline, to finish that up, yes, guys have in most situations wimp out now, and let me just take this down. I'll come back to this in a second, Anna. It's one of those things that and I hear this complaint from women also, that you receive a like and assume, or somebody sends you a like and you assume that you have to reach out to them, or they want you to reach out to them. That's not necessarily the case. There are many sites and you don't necessarily know who's a paid member. You may like somebody and it may show up, but if they're not it may show up that you like them, but if they're not a paying member, they can't reach out to you. So you have to take that into consideration, Caroline. But it's a lot of people tell me just the opposite. That if they get a like, they expect and you like them back. You expect them to. Or they expect them to reach out and initiate. Just as you were saying, and this comes from women. Women more often expect men to initiate the conversation, and that's one of the reasons I kind of like Bumble, that a guy can reach out or he can like you, but women have to initiate the first contact, and it's. It can be a safety thing from the standpoint, and it can help you eliminate a lot of people that you don't want to talk to. You just let them delete them. They automatically get deleted after 24 hours. And if you don't respond, that's it. Now, you might miss a couple of good ones in there, but that's... But, maybe, Caroline, for you, Match.com might be a better fit, because you can like guys and they can reach out to you or initiate contact with you. And Anna says, I've met good people that I'm good friend with, and are quality people. Absolutely. And, and that's the other thing we have to realize, is that when we're online, when we meet people in public, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be our soulmate. You're looking for a needle in a haystack relationship. And when you're looking for that needle in a haystack, you've got to meet more than 3 or 4 or 5 people. You got to go through a lot of straw or a lot of hay to find that needle. And that's what it takes in the dating world. Same thing. And Paul says, Rick, you highlight extraordinary relationships. Is that really possible, or is 90 to 95% score acceptable? Well, it depends on what you're basing that 90 or 95% on. And for me, there are several things that have to come together. Number one, they have to have all of my must-haves and none of my deal breakers. We have to be able to develop an intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and physical connection. Then there's speaking similar love languages. And, this is, we can argue about this one, but my preference is that I be with somebody that speaks similar love languages because it just naturally makes communication between the two of us easier. And I won't, if you want more on the five love languages, go get the book, the Singles Edition by Gary Chapman. It's a great book, The Five Love Languages. And then there's got to be chemistry. So I guess from my perspective, it's got to be 100%. I mean, the decision is ultimately up to you, Paul. To me, accepting a 90 or 95% would be settling. And I settled the first time in my first marriage. I don't want to do that again. But that's me. And I will tell you, that I've talked to literally hundreds of couples that are in that soulmate or extraordinary relationship category, and they all tell me the same thing, almost verbatim, word for word, that their mate brought more to the table, brought more to the relationship than they ever could have imagined. So when you do find that right person, it doesn't mean that you're not, that there aren't going to be some Paul, I want to make it clear. It doesn't mean that an extraordinary relationship is going to be, your partner is going to be perfect. There's only one perfect person that walked this earth, and that was about 2,000 years ago. We all have our flaws, and I'll be the first to raise my hand and say, yep, I'm as flawed as they come. But you have enough in common, and the flaws, the things that may cause problems are generally going to be smaller issues. If they're big issues, then I would never get into a relationship that with someone that's going to cause me great grief. Is it somebody that am I going to date somebody that won't wash my clothes? Well, sure, I'll date them. I'm perfectly capable of doing my own laundry. That's fine. I'll even do hers. It's just, I'll fold her laundry if I need to dry her. And, it's just, I've been in relationships like that. It becomes a work together. And when you find that right relationship, Paul, you do naturally, just build a relationship that you're both doing things for each other intentionally, and and it's not a twisting the arm to pick up your laundry and put it in the hamper. It's not a twist your arm to take the garbage out. It's not a twist your arm to fix this or fix that. It's just you do things naturally to. At least for me, when I find a really good relationship, I just naturally want to do things for that person because it just makes me feel good to make them feel good. And when you find that kind of relationship, it makes it so easy. So, I hope that helps, Paul. And Anna says, I've been introduced to one of my friends. I've even introduced one of my friends to a girlfriend of mine that was more his age, and they took a while, but they are still together 3 years later. Awesome. Sometimes, yeah. Anna, that's part of my point. Is when you go out and be social, you can introduce somebody to somebody else, and you just never know where that connection is going to come from. It could be online dating. It could be with the work environment. It could be social media. It could be social groups. It could be any number of places. But you have to be active and out there doing it. And she says, and I met him online. See, and you just never know. Just because you meet somebody online, and they're not right for you, doesn't mean that there won't be somebody that you can't introduce them to later on. And she said, we're great friends. And let's see. Paul says, one real appealing trait in a woman for me is a servant's heart. Serving each other is so important. Absolutely, Paul. I totally agree. And when you find the right relationship, that becomes very easy to do. And Caroline says, "Thank you. I will." It sure makes it so much less pressure just to get out. Absolutely. And Nicole said, "Hey, Nicole, thanks for joining in." She says, "Yes, I agree with you. I'm not sure where I'm being agreed with, but I'm way behind on catching not compliments, comments. But thank you for being here. Thank you for your input, Nicole. I appreciate it." Anna says, "We need to get back to who we really are." And oh, that's such a great comment, Anna. Yes, and that's one of the things I try to teach all my students is that you just be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else, because eventually, as your partner peels back the layers of onions to find out who you, like the layers of onion peel back the layers of you, they're eventually going to find out who you are. So you might as well be that way right from the beginning. It makes life so much easier that way. Hey, Kathy, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. Anna says, "I really like a gentleman, and a real one for that matter. Men are the ones who should make the moves, should be prepared to pay for a meal, etc., etc." And I agree with that to a certain extent. I think and this is my old-fashionedness coming out, and I think the guy should initiate. I should initiate, and if he asks you out, he should pay. He should step up and pay for the entire meal, not expect you to pay. And my personal belief is that I pay. If I'm dating somebody, I pay till I know that we're in a relationship, and then if you want to start helping, fine. But until I know we're a couple, I'm still courting you, or I'm still dating, and then we start figuring out where we go from there. But until then, I pay, and that's my opinion of what men should do. And Caroline says, "Thanks, Rick. You're so right. The terrible voice or laugh. Yeah, there can be some terrible voices, and just not what you want to wake up next to." Hey, Kim, thanks for joining in. At least talk on the phone. Absolutely. Just like you mentioned, the man may have a woman's voice. Absolutely. Well, and even beyond that, Kim and Caroline, you get to know more about a person on the phone than you do by texting. And I'm always leery about trying to make arrangements for your first meeting. And I don't even like to call it a date, because I'd rather, it should be coffee or cocktails, something simple. No elaborate dinners, no elaborate, elaborate events, because odds are you really don't get a chance to talk to each other, because it's generally much too noisy to have a decent conversation. No events like movies or any other type of shows. Just make it simple. Don't make it this big production. And again, text a few times and say, "Hey, my number is, let's, I feel like we have some things in common. Let's talk." And you do have to be careful. And ladies, for you, if you want to get a burner phone where you just load it up and you can throw it away. You load it up with minutes and then can throw it away later if it turns out to be a creeper. Fine. Or you can. There are some sites that have fake phone numbers that you can give him that ring through to your phone where he doesn't have your true phone number. But if you have a good connection, you talk on the phone first. I'm a big fan of that. Caroline says, I don't want to kiss any more frogs. Yeah, I know. Hey, Jill, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. There's, it's, and again, that's why I like to have a few phone conversations before you meet. So, for me, taking a couple of weeks before we meet, that's just fine. And I'm not don't be in too big a hurry. Don't drag things out, but don't be in too big a hurry, because what you're looking for is your soulmate or your extraordinary relationship or your forever love or however you want to phrase it or describe it. This is you're looking for somebody that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So spending a couple of weeks getting to know somebody by texting, by phone, is just fine. You don't have to rush into it. We live in such an immediate gratification society that we want everything right now. It's got to happen right now. And I can track that back to the 1950s with the advent of the TV dinner. That's where it all started, and that's what I'm blaming it on. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Oh my gosh, it's an hour. We've blown through an hour already. Holy moly. I was going to try to keep this to about a 30-minute conversation. You guys are awesome. You just dragged me down the road, kicking and screaming. Not really. But it takes time. Don't, and I'm going back to a comment, and I can't remember if it was Caroline or who said that they didn't want to text more than spend more than a week texting or talking on the phone before they meet. And that's okay. If we text for a week, that's fine. If we move to a phone conversation or phone conversations for the next week, and see how things go. You can determine a lot of things through your conversations. You can even backtrack on text messages and be looking at the text messages that you've sent each other while you're talking on the phone. You can even do FaceTime if it's appropriate, or Skype or Zoom, and see them before you meet. Are there on a Skype call or a FaceTime, are they represented by the pictures they have online, or do they look 30 years older? It's and hey, Suzanne, thanks for joining in. Glad you're here. You can tell a lot on the phone. Better yet, Zoom. Absolutely. And those calls are so easy to do. Skype is easy to do. FaceTime is easy to do, or whatever the Android version is. It makes life so much easier to, and it makes them easier to recognize if you're going to meet for cocktails or coffee. You're much easier to recognize if you've seen them in person, because so many times pictures if you've met online, pictures may not do them justice, or they may be pictures that are 5, 10, 15 years old, and a lot of things have changed. Ladies, with all due respect, you guys change your hair color or length, or the cut, and that often makes it difficult for guys to tell exactly which one you are. So talking on the phone and FaceTiming, Zooming, or Skyping, is a great way. And especially if you're developing more of a long distance relationship, if you're more than an hour away, those are some good places to use those types of conversations. Anyway, this has been an awesome evening. You guys have just allowed me to burn up a whole hour. Like I said, last week. I said I wanted to try to keep these down to about 30 minutes, and this one we just couldn't do. I could keep going for another half hour, I guess. Anyway, but I won't torture you that way. And I want to thank you all for being here. You've had some great comments. Kim, it's glad you're here. Jill, Suzanne, Caroline, Kathy, Anna, Nicole, Phil, and Paul, and all you other guys, and all of you others that've been sitting out there the whole evening and not saying boo. Glad you're here, and I will wrap up tonight. Again, you've had some great comments, great questions. And I hope you all have a great and blessed week. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving and are getting ready for Christmas. And we'll just wind down this year with a couple more events. We'll probably take off one day in there around Christmas and New Year's, but anyway, I appreciate you all being here. I love you guys, and I'm here for you. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, shoot me a direct message through Facebook, or send me an email, or send me a message on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube later on. So anyway, have a great week, everyone. I love you guys, and enjoy your week. We'll see you next Monday for Monday Mastery.